Hari Om Vasudevan ji. Hari Om Dr. Atul ji. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes. I request all participants who can turn on your video feeds, please do turn on the video feeds. Hari Om Savitri ji. Hari Om. Hari Om ji. We are into the 16th Adhyay. We've stopped at shloka number 16. So we will continue from the 17th one shortly. Hari Om Sunita ji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Alright, I think we can begin with the invocation. So again, I request all participants who can turn on your video feeds, please do turn on the video feeds. It's much easier to interact. Hari Om. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhe Bhavatu Me Sada Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Krupatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Vasudevam Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Hari Om. Hari Om. Yes. So can someone recollect what is it that we saw last in the 16th Adhyay about the Deva and the Asura? These are natures inside of an individual. So what is it that we saw? Can someone recollect anything? Yes, please. Yes, please. Anything. Krishna started first 3 shlokas about the, he said this is an inheritance, it is a Devi Sampatti. It's a wealth. Probably if we want to cultivate some qualities, there's no better way than trying to manifest those 3 shlokas in our lives only, bringing those qualities. Hari Om Kripunamji, Namaste. So yes, can someone recollect something? The first shloka, Krishna started off with the divine traits. Abhayam Sattva Sanshuddhi, like that he started. Fearlessness, so many qualities. Can anybody recollect something? Any of those qualities?
Sacrifice was one.
Okay, ji.
Absence of anger,
Haan.
and truthfulness.
Acha, yes.
And then having peace within yourself.
Okay. Alright, being
And
peaceful.
having as Krishna always says, doing work for others, having compassion for others.
Ha ha.
Janhit.
Janhit, Lokhit, Loka Sangraha. Okay.
So
Yeah.
these are the major things that he was talking about. And having truthfulness, forgiveness, empathy.
Yes, yes.
And having no enmity against anyone. Like no difference between the friend and the foe.
Having that balance, showing forgiveness, have their sensitivity also. Something which is second shloka, Daya Bhuteshva Lolupvam Mardhavam Rira Chapalam.
Non-violence.
Yes, having the tendency of ahimsa. So being sensitive, can someone just tell me what is the meaning of sensitive? One side is saying be emotional. I mean, don't be emotional, he says. One side he says be balanced. And another side is talking about being sensitive also. Modesty should be there, tenderness, that aspect. How can we have that? At the same time, one side we are not supposed to react to the fluctuations of things that happen around us. And yet can we remain sensitive? What is this?
To have empathy for somebody. Like if we talk of a dewdrop, it's very very sensitive.
Okay.
Be like that.
Acha.
Or like as you give the example of the lotus
Lotus leaf,
leaf.
Padma Patra. That's a Gita
It is not
example
it
only.
is it is not it is detached, yet it is still taking that drop on it, and it is very very, I mean, giving it the space but yet not attached
Ha
to
ha.
it.
Ji, 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 ji. Yes, yes, Deepti. That's an interesting example that you shared. Like the dewdrop. It looks like pearls. You touch it and you just. Yes, please. Srinivasji wants to add. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Maybe after Dr.
Sensitivity.
Poonamji, probably Dr. Poonamji was adding after that. Srinivasji, yes, yes, please.
I think Deepti has
Yeah.
covered most of
Okay.
the things.
All right, ji. Acha ji. Okay, okay. Ji, ji, ji.
So I think she has covered most of the
Okay, ji.
things.
Fine, ji. All right.
Tejakshama
Jyotish Shaucham.
Adroho Nadiman.
Adraho
Is that what
Natiman.
she
Yes. Ji, ji, ji. Yes, please. All right. Ji, sir. Yes.
Can I?
Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah. Sensitivity is the capacity to understand the. It's not emotion. It's a capacity to understand the
Understand
feelings. Yeah.
feelings of
Others,
other
others,
persons
others'
also.
agonies,
Ha, ha.
or means it's not an emotion. It's a
Ha.
capacity
It is
to
a.
understand emotions.
Okay.
Sensitivity.
In engineering, have we come across this? Are you from the engineering background? I'm just assuming, Srinivas ji. Is there somewhere sensitivity, is that an important aspect? In instruments, instrumentation engineering, there is something called, we have specific definitions of sensitivity and sensitivity of an instrument.
Yeah, sensors, what we call as sensors.
Yeah, yeah.
They sense some particular parameter,
Ha, 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 ha.
and then the controller acts.
Yes, 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 Srinivasji. And in our mechanical engineering also, we had something for even instruments. They have to be sensitive to use them. But if they are oversensitive and fluctuating every time, then these instruments have to be discarded because this is not going to give you a right value at all. But it must, and then each instrument has its own. There's a definition. There's a tolerance level, and there's a sensitivity level of each instrument also for. Even devices, when they start doing in meteorological studies, when people do the measurements, it is very very important. So this ability to perceive, that is there in a sadhak can see what is happening in the atmosphere, a sadhak can see what is there in the person in the front also. We have seen how gunatit is the person who is able to wade through the three gunas are there, rajas, tamas, sattva are there in all of us. But a sensitive person can identify what is speaking. Is it now Rajas speaking? Is it Tamas speaking? Is it Sattva speaking? And how does one act or react? So, very important aspect is being sensitive. Even an individual also should be sensitive of what one person is. If you see in 12th Adhyay, the person who is Mad Bhakta Same Priya Krishna says, that person is not disturbing others and is not getting disturbed by others also. So that ability. So this is beautiful that Krishna is in the first three shlokas, non-violence, absence of fault finding. That was also one more thing where he talked about not finding faults in others, because why are we rushing and trying to find faults on the outside? When we finish eliminating the faults on the inside, then probably we have the authority to say, yes, this is wrong, that is right. But again, that is why Kabir Das dohe is there. Bura jo dekhan main chala, bura na milya koi, jo dil khoja apna. Means I searched my own heart and I found all the faults. Now, he was not a bad man at all, but he was sensitive and could see that yes, but why not? And the many yogis, they try to change the world by changing themselves. They start. It's like you want to start cleaning the world, start from your own backyard. That is something like that. So this is all first three shlokas, just beautifully talking about what is the Daivi Swabhava. The Daivi Swabhava is absolutely it's a treasure which Krishna is saying. It is an inheritance, meaning people are born with this nature. Maybe everybody is not Kuber. They don't have all the qualities. If you have some traits, start cultivating, and if you have traits which are in opposite of this, we'll have to start eliminating them. That would be the sadhana. But when Krishna starts speaking, immediately he says, but he starts talking about Or Arjuna, while speaking to Arjuna, he starts talking about the Asuri Swabhava. That time he suddenly says this Dambho Darpo Bhimanascha Krodha Parusha Imochecha. Means opposite of sensitivity, harshness. Then he says ignorance, vice of ignorance. Now ignorance is not bliss, it is ignorance is actually something which is going to hurt you and also your near and dear ones. Upanishads also don't give any space for ignorance. Andha tamaha pravishanti eke cha atmano janaha. If you see Krishna, Sri Aurobindo talks about this in his Isha Upanishad translation as sunless realms. They go into the sunless realms, the dark sunless realms where they're hurting themselves, they're consciously hurting themselves because of ignorance. That is the danger of actual what we can say full state of tamas. So here Krishna,
Only one thing,
yeah.
when we say there is an English version that to err is human.
Uh-huh.
So does this come here also, like when we
Yeah. That's actually what happens is if you look at every phrase has a meaning. If you look at its superficial meaning, what they are trying to talk about is it's all right. It is sometimes even Gita does not insist on. If you see Krishna doesn't insist on Arjuna to be perfect on day one. So maybe somebody who is attached to some people they kind of give overemphasis on perfection, but not realizing that perfection does not come in one day. It takes time. We will see in the next adhyaya actually Krishna talking about how perfection is siddhi, how siddhi can be gained. But to err is human is a very nice cloak which people used to hide behind. All are human mistakes. You say, I am human. I'll have these mistakes. You must accept it. Sometimes in relations also people do wrong, and then I'm human only. You see, I will do this type. This is a wrong swabhava also is cultivated under this cloak of err is human. Well, why not? To not err is divine, is it not? If you can, why do we have? Because you see, human errors are the problem. We are not going to say God came and did all these wrong things. Humans are only doing the wrong things in an argument. Can we say God is responsible or the person who is shouting is responsible? It is the person who is, yes, but he cannot say that I was just like this. And many people do something and then raat gayi baat gayi, over. I did it that day. That day it was different moment. I was not, I was just not in control. What was it? It was just Rajas force inside, and the person was not allowing the force, not allow sattvic force inside of the individual. So here, can we hide behind this to err is human and always ask somebody else to forgive us every mistake that we make? Will anybody forgive also logically, whether or not we ask someone? So that is where this phrase, which is quite popular, probably it has been misused. Everywhere people misuse different. This is what this intellectually people use it in a wrong direction, and this is the tamasic vritti, where the spirit of the thing is lost. But because it is easy to hide behind. There is human. I am human. I will make mistake. Many people say, because I love you, I get angry with you. Because I love you, I trouble you. Because I love you, I hurt you. No, that's not a because. It should be in spite of. Because that is not a reason or giving a sanction. So this aspect of harshness, ignorance, all of these are not excuses. These are undivine traits, is what Krishna is saying.
or we can say that it's like fitting in making it according to their convenience.
Absolutely. Yes. That is what, and that is a tamasic pravrutti actually. They use wrong logics, and we saw Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. Rajasic would be angry all the time. Sattva will be very quiet and peaceful. But Tamasic will do wrong actions and justify the wrong actions to be right. Because they do not know actually. It's not that they are doing with consciously they are doing it. But unconsciousness is not a virtue. That is one thing which is definitely a truth. So let us continue. So all these, Krishna is saying, egoism, false pride, and a deceitful arrogance. Now again the same. That arrogance which is also deceitful, means deceiving both the person who is having it and others as well. So these are all undivine traits. The moment Krishna tells this, Arjuna has a change of facial expression. He feels guilty. Is Krishna talking about me? Because Arjuna has been very, some places obnoxious to Krishna. Like, Krishna, how can I believe you that you are the one who taught the Surya? Just because I have told us you are going to say anything and I am going to listen. So immediately Arjuna gets that guilty feeling that is Krishna talking, I am having only undivine traits, what Krishna is talking about. And that is when immediately Krishna says, no, Arjuna, Do not worry, you have the divine nature inside of you. And yet, he describes all the undivine traits after this. He says, I will let you know, probably because. Yes, Dr. Pushpa, you want to add something?
Envy is another word.
Yes, Ji?
Envy.
Yes, yes, envy is. Yeah, jealousy is there, no? When somebody else is having good and we feel, why did that person doesn't deserve it? I only deserve it. So, but that is again a wrong nature which has to be eliminated. If parents are there and they are looking at raising their children, they'll have to cultivate the right virtues. Probably the first three shlokas, if you can cultivate, you will have the greatest, like Janaka Rajas only and great Janaka Kanyas only will be born in every home. That will be ideal. So, but Arjuna is not going to be facing only the ideal, he is going to be facing the world. And the world is made of what we have seen. Prakriti is made of vikar also. There are wrong aspects also in nature. And Arjuna must be conscious. And that is why Krishna describes all of it. Then the remaining shlokas, what is the fall? The fall of the skeptic, the fall of the person who is lost in this ignorance. The demonic nature, Krishna says, first, they don't know what is right action, what is to be done. Means not knowing a right action is also a very big danger. It is sometimes somebody is hurt. What is the right action? The heart tells you go and help that person. Is it not? If whatever possible, if you are not capable, find somebody or do something. That's the right action. But someone just does not even recognize that that person has to do it. Well, that is being ignorant of what is right action. Devoid of knowledge, not understanding the truth. Not understanding or recognizing even abstention. Means what is this? All these yogis, they are all doing nonsense. They are unnecessarily giving up everything. They don't know actually a real life. It's a waste. This is not practical. Or many people say the yogis should remain like yogis only. They are not supposed to be doing anything else, or they are like that and I am like this. I cannot change, that person is like that. So not knowing of that, and there's no truth in the beings, meaning whatever they speak, whatever they do, the aspect of truth is not there. Words may be very beautiful, words may be very nice, but the aspect of truth is missing. Then can you trust such a dealing? You can never trust such a person or such a dealing also. You agree or you disagree or whatever happens, again, if the truth is not there, we have just saw the example of if you are going to purchase a property. If there is no trust, can you purchase the property from that person? It is not possible, because today you know this person, you have not got any reference, and this person is known to change his statements. Suddenly while talking to you, he has raised the price by some so many lakhs, and then suddenly he reduces a little bit. Again he raises while your conversations are only going on, giving different reasons. Then you suddenly start wondering, is this true? Then you do a little bit of market survey and realize, no, this is not. Then will you consciously go and give an advance to such a person? No, because you've understood that this person is now. Many times you understand people by the way how they deal with money. And this aspect of trust, there is no trust, then there is no faithfulness in their dealings. Probably Krishna is giving an indication. Do not deal. Damliji gives a very beautiful way of identifying people. This was in 2012. This was when I had heard his quote, when I had just in my starting years only. He who knows not and knows not that he knows not, leave him. When somebody does not know and that person does not know also that the person doesn't know, leave him is what the phrase says. And then he who knows not and knows that he knows not, teach him. When somebody does not know, and he says like Arjuna is Heshyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. That's why Bhagavad Gita starts. He says, I know I don't know, please tell me. Kena Upanishad also says that is the ground. That is the ground for the wisdom to enter inside. Knowing, becoming conscious that you don't know, you are not aware. But if you are not, you would say, I don't know, but I don't think it is like this, I don't know. It again goes away. And then he who knows and knows that he knows, follow him. When somebody who has got that realization and he knows that this is the case, then such a person you must follow. That is how probably why Krishna we say Krishna Mande Jagat Gurum. Krishna knows and he has got that realization, and so we go to him and then we get the answer. So this is something, but the person who is not in this state of ignorance will not realize it also, that the person does not know, and will live in that. And that is what they say sanskara, no? They are so strong, they don't change at all, and it goes on and it is like carried forward. Sometimes sanskaras are carried over an entire birth, and sometimes over births also. That is why this is sadhana should be done. to purify. So 8th, 9th, 10th, these are the shlokas which I think Divine Life Society calls it the ladder of the fall. One person from I think Swami Shivananda's group had joined our previous batches, and he had very nicely explained that same thing, ladder of the fall, in one audio in a group. So here it starts like this. First, there is no God. This is all right to some extent. Some people have the atheistic view. Many yogis had that atheistic view also initially, and that was how their journey began. So atheism itself is not a problem, but there is no God, there is a jubilation and a happiness and ananda or nirananda, or what we can say a kind of false joy and proclaiming the absence of God, especially to people who are believing. It is like, see, there is no nothing, there is nothing. Then what happens when God is not there? Then there should be some foundation, right, for something. A person's, if at least there is, like they say, have Shraddha somewhere, some one place. It's all right, you don't have Shraddha in God. Have Shraddha in truth, have Shraddha in the right principles. But slowly the fall of Asura starts from the Asuric nature. It starts first with rejection of divinity, rejection of the possibility of divine manifestation. No, this is like this only. God cannot manifest here. This place, he is powerless. Or this is like this. Then what happens? Then comes the rejection of truth itself. The rejection of truth. No, this is not true. The truth cannot be like, cannot exist here. Or truth. I remember a person saying, God is, I feel pity for God. And he had a very beautiful logic. And this was one friend I had very looked up when growing up. He was one of the smartest children, and I always felt when I grew up, I'll see him, I'll go with my resume to get an application, and there he would be sitting to sign my job offer letter. That was what I thought. I'll meet him. But when I saw him after nearly 20 years, and I was shocked to see the transformation, his entire mind was used in absolutely different direction. And then just in a conversation, he started saying about his own, I believe in discordanism, religion. What is this? I didn't understand. And he started talking. He's trying to learn astrology. He's dropping out of his engineering. Then he posted a photo of himself with blood on his face, just like that, for the sake of it. Then he started telling, I said, but what do you want to do? I don't want to do anything in life. And he was quite confident with it. I was actually feeling a little nervous just talking to him. I thought, now I am just kacha madka. If I talk to him more, my head only will become spoiled. So I thought I'll let him go. But I remember his dialogue. He said, I said, what happened? What about your life, your aspiration? He said, I have a girlfriend. We may or may not have biological children. That was his dialogue. I was not able to understand what is this kind of pravrutti. How can he say that? But I thought it's better not to enter into this state of mind or discussion with him at least. And I, somehow escaped from the situation. I didn't want to engage in dialogue only. Sometimes you have to protect your own consciousness from the attacks from outside. Basically not deal unless you are yourself ready. And after a few years I meet him again. He says, no, my philosophy has changed, but I'm still believing in a new religion now, which is again a different type. So the mind is continuously changing, but the aspect of the higher truth is never, we are going away. And if you look at our rishis who are seeking the truth, they say Hiranmayana patrena satyasyapi hitam mukham. Means truth also is hidden by a golden lid. What we see as brilliant gold, that is also a covering. We need to break that covering and go inside. What will we get then? Then we get that Soham Asmi realization. So that aspect of truth is so subtle and it has to be sought. But a person who is trapped in an arrogance, trapped in own individual consciousness, where can that person understand anything beyond the indriyas, beyond the senses? First rejection of God, next rejection of truth, then the rejection of anything that is higher principle also. Desire is the only foundation, is the thought. Because desire is foundation, what is going to be the dream of a person who is driven by desires only? To fulfill desires. If it is what we can sensual desires, they will want to have sensual gratification. But the problem with sensual gratification also is how limited it is. How long will it continue? After a while it stops. After a while, then what are we going to search? But this person is now not knowing, because all life the person has been traveling in a particular direction. And suddenly you ask that person, it's like sometimes people engage in only one type of work continuously for several years. And they are okay and comfortable in it. And that day their retirement comes and then suddenly, Arey, koi salam nahi kar raha hai, nobody is doing salute to me. So many years I have got used to people wishing me, I am my profession. And that day the profession is out, the person is out of the profession. The person is not understanding. It's something like that. So desires only are driving that individual. That is the foundation. Their minds are also driven by desire. Everything I must do to manipulate. I manipulate people to fulfill my desires. I manipulate everything around me, that entire way of thinking. But what they don't realize in this process is they are becoming the forces, they become puppets for these rajasic forces. We have seen, no, Prakriti is functioning, and it is like work. These forces enter people and they work. So people may not be good or bad, but there are people who are receptive to rajasic forces, people who are receptive to sattvic forces, people who are receptive to tamasic forces. Sattvic forces, you can enjoy the company, you can learn something, great discussions will come out of it. Rajasic forces will cause hurt emotionally. Maybe work may go ahead, but it will create a fluctuation everywhere. But tamasic force will only send darkness, it will spread darkness, and this is exactly what happens to the individuals whose minds have got polluted by their desires. But there's an arrogance, there's a lust that's never going to be quenched. They go on that way. They want to grab more things, acquire more things, continuously that feeling of grabbing, because that is the only time they feel closest to the light. When I am running after something, they feel they are going to taste the happiness. Has anybody heard of this person, this Greek character called Tantalus? Or anybody knows the meaning of the English word tantalize? Yes, tantalize. Have you heard this anywhere?
Tantalizing link.
Yes, Vasudevanji. Tantalizing?
Link. Somebody bowls a
Ha, in cricket. Okay. So in cricket, that they use it in the commentaries often. That is or it is tantalizing defeat, meaning it is very close, tempting a person to do something, but person is not able to do it, or something like that. It has a very nice origin in the story of of Tantalus. What he did was, he was a very Asuri Svabhava person only. The gods had a favorite which caused jealousy inside of him, and he thought, I need to eliminate this person, but the gods will revive him. So what do? He does the most unthinkable thing. He calls all the gods for a feast, and in the feast he kills that person, and that person who is killed is fed to the gods only without their knowledge, so that that person cannot be revived. Now when the gods realize it, they get given, and Greek punishments are also very horrible. We have different, the Sisyphus' punishment is different. Like that, Tantalus got a punishment of hanging upside down from a tree for eternity, and not just hanging upside down. Underneath him there are great feasts, there is water, there is best food, all of it, and it is just in his reach, slightly away from him. But every time he tries to swing and go closer to it, it moves one step away from him. And that is how he is going to be, like what they say, Trishanku, something like that, in limbo, always in that state. Will always get the desire looking at things around him, and he'll never be able to reach. So from that, the origin of the word tantalize also came in. But if you look at it, this is exactly how desires play with a person. Desires make a person run around in circles, and they say asha pasha shatair baddha. These are 100 bonds of desire. Just imagine that poor individual who is trapped by these bonds of desire. It's a very sad plight, because this person is trying to be free, but the desires are not allowing that person to ever be free. And this Asuri nature takes control of that individual. That person becomes a slave of these desires only. And Krishna says this is the, what we can say, the entire fall of that individual. Just let us go on. We'll continue with the 17th shloka. Atma sambhavitaha stabdha dhanamana madanvitaha yajante nama yajnaiste dambhe na vidhi purvakam. Even the sacrifice they perform with narcissism, obsessed with wealth in a state of egotism. All their offerings are just namesake, as they are vanity. They never forsake. So they are always there. It is all, even the yajna is done with an intention of only showing one's own greatness, not with an offering. There is no surrender even in their simple action of sacrifice also. It is just a namesake, because people want to display their wealth, or they want to show their power, or I am so powerful, look at my wealth, let all people know how great I am. Even the yajna is done that way only, is what Krishna is saying. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham cha sansritaha mamatma paradeheshu pradvishanto bhyasuyakaha. So this is all that is inside. Ahankaram, balam, darpam, kamam, krodham, cha sanshritaha. All of this with egoism in their strength. I am so powerful. How can anybody remain permanently powerful? If you even say physically or any other way. It is what happened to Ravana. He was so powerful, all the grahas were under his control. But what happened to him ultimately? It went out of his hands. How many people, and there is this Ramdas Swami, Guruji of Shivaji Maharaj, he is so many, there is like Dehe Rakshanartha Kati Yatna Kela. For protecting the body, how many efforts were taken. And ultimately Kal took away everything. So this strength, why are we having this unnecessary? Today I am so powerful. I may beat somebody physically, or I may, show my strength to another person. Can I say that another 60 years down the line? If I have teeth and I can smile also, is going to be a big thing for me. I'll say, wow, what a victory. Because this is the nature. This is nature. It is something which is not going to remain in hand. How can I take pride in, it's like I am the owner. If you don't own a building, can you become the owner? And you claim to be the owner and take the pride. I am the owner. Tomorrow that rental agreement will get over, what will happen to you? You'll have to leave the premises. So what are we going to do? Isha vasyam idam sarvam. We just be happy in that. Do not have that false ego. That's what Krishna is saying. But the Asuri nature is saying, no, I'll do exactly what is opposite of Krishna. Asuri nature makes a person take egoism in their strength. A bloated arrogance. It's like extreme arrogance inside of the individual. And the minds are consumed by desire, anger and ignorance. So only desire is there, only anger is there, and only ignorance. All these three are dangers. What do they do in that process? They deride the God that in all living beings resides. So there is a divine everywhere. They cause disrespect or cause discomfort even to that supreme divine that is present everywhere, is what Krishna is saying. And also the God within themselves that presides. So even inside of themselves, it is like in a point comes where there is a flame inside everyone. This Asuri nature tries to even douse that very flame of what we can say conscience or everything inside of that individual. That is the danger when mind is driven by all of these three: Kama, Krodha, anger, desire and ignorance. Yes, Dr. Pushpaji wants to add something.
If one person is having desire, if it fulfills, it will lead to greed.
Next, it will lead to one more desire. Ji.
Yeah, greed. If it doesn't fulfill, then it will lead to anger.
Ha.
In any way, desire is
Ha.
going to
Ji.
make us to
Yes.
fall in a
Yes. It is a pit, no?
wrong thing.
It is a pit, is it not? Yes, ji. Yes, Dr. Pushpaji rightly identified. That is why Krishna in the second adhyaya only had told us, Mam phaleshu kadachana. Forget leave the desire. Aspire for good things. Swastina indro vruddhashrava, swastina pusha vishwa vedaha, swastina staksho arishtanemehi, swastino bruhaspatir dhatu. Stirair angair also we say, give me good body, strong body. Stirair angair sushtuvan, swastanobhi vyashema deva hitam yadayuhu. Let me serve. For what? I want to live for 100 years with strong bodies and stuff. So this is aspiration. If a human does not aspire, who will aspire then? God has created human beings for aspiring only. But in our aspiration, we should not get trapped in the, what we can say, mohajal of desire. Because as I think Dr. Pushpaji shared rightly, desire gets fulfilled is a problem, desire gets not fulfilled is also a problem. So what is the use? What is the use in that? Instead, just be like the yogi. Santushtaha satatam yogi. Whether or not desire is getting fulfilled, you can be happy. That is something. Let us go on further. Tanaham dvishataha kruran sansareshu naradhaman shipamya sramashubhan asurishveva yonishu. So I'll send them, I punish them is also what Krishna is saying ultimately. Sometimes they feel they have escaped, they have not received, they do wrong and they escape. But no, this is not one Janma story, it is a story which is being carried over for many births. And Krishna says this to those beings to whom both good and God are detestable, are the vilest of creatures, inhuman and despicable. So anything that is divine or anything that is good, that creates hatred inside of an individual. These are the individuals which are the worst of all, is what Krishna is saying. To these beings, he says, I send them into the lowest wombs of earth, repeatedly they suffer the pangs of demonic birth. So that Punarapi Janama, Punarapi Marana cycle, we have seen how in the 8th Adhyay, how a yogi is going to pass on, carry forward of Punya. So like that, even the wrong that is done is also carried forward, is what Krishna is saying. And this aspect of Asuri birth means the person would be born with those natures only. He will not have any of the divine treasures which Krishna indicated in the first 3 shlokas. That's a very sad plight. Because a person who does not have empathy, a person who does not care, will not find anybody who cares for that person also. And that's a very sad state wherein there's nobody to take care of an individual only, because that person is only hurting everyone. The person who are nice and near also, they run away. There are many times that even the most vilest of people, even there's some dons, they have one relation, one very pure relation with somebody, and they want to keep that because that is the only aspect of their life. Terrorists also, they don't go killing everybody else, but in their personal life they want very nice personal life. They want to insulate their personal life from their outer life. But that is what, if you see in Jammu and Kashmir, so many of the terrorists have been given their locations have been revealed by the most closest ones only. What happens to them? Many of the times it is the girlfriends only of the young terrorists who tell this is where he is, you go and kill him, and that is how they find out. So what has happened? More than the bullet, it would be the stab which is on the back, which that person realizes that this is what has happened. Because that is the nature of a person who's been hurting and who's entering into that state cannot accept anything else, cannot expect anything else also, because that is the entire cycle of karma. It is going to be carried birth after birth. Those who are attaining or attacking the very concept or inception of divinity or purity, they are the ones, Krishna is saying, are the worst. Asurim yonimapanna mudha janmani janmani mama prapyaiva kaunteya tato yantya dhamam gatim. Ever so deluded are these creatures that are consumed in their own selfish natures. For birth after birth they find me not, and they sink to the lowest of stages that can be got. This is the wrong, it's like many times people have a choice, and what we do in that choice decides our direction of life. And these ones are going to keep getting the choices, but because their sanskaras are so strong, every time they had a choice, they were closing it. They enter into that state. Birth after birth, they go into the lowest stages. Sometimes they have to wait for several births. Valya will not become Valmiki suddenly also. Sometimes many births pass away, and that is when that is why they say the cycle of life and death. A person must try to course correct as soon as possible, as early as possible. It's never late. Otherwise, we have to again wait for that moment again. Trividham narakasyedam dvaram nashanam atmanaha kama krodhas tatha lobha tasmadetat trayam tyajet. Threefold too are the gates of darkness and destruction that sentence a being into hell's damnation. Desire, rage and lust are the accursed three. By renouncing them only can one be free. So Krishna is saying, as long as you are in this trap, your life is only going to be hell. You are going to be bearing the eternal curse. That is the eternal curse. What is an eternal curse in a mortal life? Well, always going through the same wrong which you are experiencing, or always going, that is the curse. All life, if a person is trapped by desire, all life, if a person is trapped by rage, what is going to happen to that? All life a person is having lust only. Isn't that a curse? Isn't such a life a wasted life? Isn't that hell for that person also? Because life is continuously, these fires are burning inside, and a person is not at peace even for a minute. Not a peaceful moment is possible when these three are there, and that is what Krishna says, hell enters into our lives when these gates are opened. These are the three gates, Naraka Dwara. This is not Arjuna's Naraka which he was describing in first Adhyaya, that after birth this Naraka is, Krishna is talking about in the life itself hell is experienced. Normally if we know that one place, if you see now India, look, instead of three gates, India's three sides, we have neighbors from three sides trying to attack. Most of the times we have incursions taking place from our western neighbors. So what do you think, what should be done in such a case? the person who is in charge of this defense of or security of the entire nation, what should that person do? One side always infiltration is taking place around one boundary. What should that person do there? Anybody?
Make that boundary stronger so that they cannot infiltrate
Yes,
again
yes.
and again.
Ji, ji, yes, Doctor. Yes, Dr. Poonamji. Yes, Bhamaji, you were adding?
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing.
Make sure that your LOC is well protected.
Yes, Bhamaji. So exactly, if you see this three, we should only analyze ourselves which of these gates from where entry is going to take place. Because when this gate is opened, our Ranchod will run away. Krishna will not stay inside of our hearts. If this one of these gates open, we want him to be inside. We want our Bhagwan to be with us. Why do we? How much pain is there? Many people know who have lost Krishna from their lives, who just run away. They feel sad, whether it was his mother or whether it was Mirabai or whoever. They say, where is Krishna? And absence of Krishna is a very sorrowful plight. So why do we want to go into that plight? Because here Krishna is saying, desire, rage and lust, these are the three gates. So if you identify which of these three gates are weak for me, from where is the infiltration taking place, then you, like if you see, government also does the same thing, army also does the same thing. They have greater deployment in that area so that that place infiltration does not take place. Something like that. Just see, where is it desire, is it rage or is it lust, which of these three gates? Because if any one gate is open also, you are allowing hell to come into your life. This is the hell we should be afraid of or wary of. Krishna says we must realize we should be fearless, that is true, but we must know what is to be avoided, what is right and what is wrong. So these three gates have to be sealed, and if you seal those gates, life is Ananda. As Tukaram had he actually celebrated Anandachi Dohi, Ananda Taranga, Anandachi Anga. Anga is there, it is a river of Ananda, it is just a ripple also is Ananda, everything is Ananda only. Or elsewhere he said Brahmananda Lagali Tari Kona Dehate Sam. Meaning, I've got that Brahmananda, now what else is required? But his three gates were closed. That was his realization for Ananda. So, yes, please. Diptiji was adding something. Or, yes, please.
When people go into depression,
Ha.
Arana Patra depression,
Mm.
are they trapped in the desire, or
We saw the three gunas, no? We saw three gunas. It is a sort of a tamasic guna which is there inside of the individual, which is taken control. He'll have to identify, sometimes we have to find the source of that. If you identify the source of it, you are going to help in the treating of it as well.
because it's like sometimes people don't find it and they're just trapped there.
Yes, that is why they need to seek the counseling and immediately, but a person can change, can come out. Like I said, one person actually watched a depression patient, and this young doctor, Vaidya actually, she was describing the changes in the individual from tamasic to rajasic, rajasic to sattvic. Means first, what is tamasic? It is an ignorance of thought, a bankruptcy of logic also, but that logic is not, the person is not realizing it is wrong. So as long as it is there, it is going to be difficult. From there, taking the next step to this nature. So basically, best is, I think, what was case of Arjuna, if you look at it. Was he not having borderline depression or pure depression also in the first adhyay? So what did Krishna do? Krishna just lent an empty ear, a patient ear without speaking any word. So when Arjuna started speaking, and first if you see, Arjuna started like Yat Kim Karmani Ghore Mam, and he's like, how can it? Katham Bhishmam Aham Sankhe Dronam Cha Madhusudana. These are all people. How Krishna? What is this? Then that was where this was the entire dialogue. It was actually, we need not say that everybody moves in one particular way only, but our dialogue started, and then finally he realized it. Somewhere in his rajasic state also, he's like, Arey no, abhi to I am lost. Then he said, Karpanya dosho pahatasya bhavaha pruchhami dvam dharma sammudha cheta yat shreyaha syana nishchitam bruhitan me sheshyasteham shadhimam tam prapanam. It's like, I know now. I know I am afraid. I know I don't realize. So that is the only time you can help Diptiji. When the person knows. If the person does not know also, no matter what you try, they'll fall on empty, these words will just be empty words for that person. Even a doctor, when he has to work on a depressive patient, he needs to get a sanction from the patient. Somewhere the patient must accept that yes, I need to be, acceptance is so important. The doctor first tries to allow the person to understand this is a normal thing, accept it. It is, everybody goes through all of this, and then the patient is ready, and then the direction starts. So if we do have someone, we can probably start like Krishna only, just not. You see, Krishna was so neutral. Even when Arjuna accused Krishna, who was the savior, of being the villain, he said, Krishna, did we do this for the wealth? Now, why? What would Krishna need wealth for? He is already the Raja of the world. Yogeshwara is there. What more he needs? And he doesn't care about wealth. He grew up where? He was not. He didn't grow up in a palace. He knows he was wealthy Raja even when he was in the village. The nature was his own. Around everywhere they were his beautiful ornaments around him. So yes, Dipti ji. But like you said, depression, it is a wrong tarka, is it not? It is not a wrong tarka of the mind. A wrong logic has been accepted, and that is a tamas which is disturbing the person, and that is the ignorance which is not bliss in any way.
As we say, like we were talking about the air is human, is we can we also say like there are so many statements or phrases or words have been created just to divert our mind
Yeah,
and not accept certain
they were
things and
probably
just
created by a
create that
tamasic mind which dwelled on desire-based foundation of existence. Maybe.
maximum are following that.
Because you see, we say we are here in our, there's a lot of difference between the West and the East. That is why we have subhashits which are eternal in Sanskrit. But we are now picking faults in those phrases which we learned, because these are all based on having a lower foundation. Because the pursuit of happiness, everybody should have the right for pursuit of happiness. Some country's constitution, I'm not naming the country, they say they have the right for pursuit of happiness. Now, our yogis say you don't have to pursue happiness, you will go like a dog trying to catch its tail. What is the use for pursuing happiness? You stay in your place, Ananda is in your place only. Do find the love in what you are doing also, you can just rise in consciousness, whatever work you are doing.
The deer is within you.
Yes, something like that. So yes, that is why we need to, that is why our Sanatan Dharma has got treasures which probably our job would be to revive them, at least in our lives, and then maybe it will spread, that fragrance will spread to our near and dear ones also. So yes, please, Ji, Hari Om. So Krishna says this, these are the three gates. Etair vimuktah kaunteya tamodvarais tribhir naraha acharyat yatmanah shreyah tato yati param gatim. Oh Arjuna, liberated from the doors of darkness, man can attain a union in my oneness, for then he can journey on his own, alone, reaching the highest status of the soul that is known. So this is what Krishna is saying. Only when you are liberated from these three gates can you get that quietude, can you get that union with me, means that oneness with Kanhaji, that oneness with Krishna is possible only when these gates are closed, when you are free from the trap of all of this desire, rage and lust. Now my question is, forget with the divine, with your even near and dear ones, what we can say closest to divine is our beautiful associations and relationships in life. So in those relationships, can these three help us anywhere? Desire, rage and lust. Will they spoil the relationship or will they make the relationship more beautiful? Desire, rage and...
More beautiful because it will be more like a detached
No,
attachment.
what I meant was, will these three make it beautiful is my question, Ji. Desire, rage and lust. What will be their role?
They are not your form of love.
They are not pure form. It's actually the worst. No, they spoil everything. But when desire comes in, when rage comes in, means a beautiful association is there. A person who is known to be very wonderful and respected and everything in the relationship also. The person always speaks very nicely. The person is always very calm, peaceful, caring. All these factors are known about that individual. But now desire has come inside, or some rage has come inside of that individual. If that person does something and suddenly he breaks his entire character which he has been carrying, and what's the effect of that on the relationship? Sometimes it permanently scars the relationship also. One moment of rage, one moment of uncontrolled rage, what one person spoke one time just like that, or what one person did one time in an uncontrolled state, that has a permanent scar. It's like a very big sanskar, and it spoils even a best ordinary relation. We can say, we're calling it ordinary because we're comparing it to the divine, human and divine. So in a human relation also, desire, rage and lust spoil everything. What can they do in the case of divine relations then? If we want to associate with the divine, we cannot associate as long as these three are there. So yes, that is what we are looking at. Krishna is saying that is there. And what happens when you are free? You are so free that even on your own alone, sometimes people want people to tell they are around and they have to say I love you, or you are like this and because of you, you missed me, I missed you. These things are all unnecessary dialogues. Some dialogues can be without uttering also, they can be understood. One person may be one corner of the world and another person may be another corner of the world, yet they can be connected in beautiful relationships. Sometimes people have the same thoughts. Earlier they would not, they would write letters and people would send from one part and it would reach so much later. Still they have experienced miracles that that person is thinking the same thing what I was thinking. And even now we have media for communication. So suddenly how is it that somebody else in some other situation is able to think, well that,
You can simply say as telepathy when
yes, that is a oneness of consciousness, is it not, Deepti ji? It is a oneness of consciousness. So this is what can happen, and the person, even if the person is alone, ultimately we are all born alone. We were not born within a group. Each person was born alone and will have to die alone. The journey a person has to take. We can have great company, we can enjoy that journey. The journey can become very enjoyable with good company, that is true. But each person has to take an individual journey, no matter if it is a husband or a wife or a father or a mother or a child. Everybody has their own life journey which they have to take. If they are not confident in themselves, in their own company, then that journey is going to be troublesome. And that is what Krishna is saying. That person can, even alone, that person can journey ahead. Will never feel alone at all. Because the oneness is there. Oneness with everyone, that consciousness is there. Insecurities disappear. Krishna goes on, then. But there are always, if Krishna says something, I don't believe it. I don't think it's practical. I don't think it's feasible. These are all thoughts that come in which are human. So Krishna is just giving a rider here already to what he has already postulated. He says, Yah shastra vidimutsrajya vartate kamakarataha nasa siddhim avapnoti nasukham na param gatim. But he who disregards these rules mandatory, that the golden scriptures deem necessary, follows his desires and reaches the sorry plight of imperfection and sorrow that come in the absence of light. This is what Krishna is saying. That person who says, no, I don't believe all of this, I don't think it's practical. Everything works on desire. Everything works on desire. What is going to happen to such an individual? But this is what the Shastra, this is the principle of the Shastra which Krishna is talking about. He is not saying you read this Brahma Sutra only or you read this particular Vedanta text only. Krishna is saying live the principles, but spirit of these principles must be lived, and this is what the scriptures also teach. He is not somebody who is saying all scriptures are useless or scriptures have no purpose. They have a purpose. You understand the spirit of the scripture, and Krishna says this is what the scriptures are telling you. Close this door of karma, close this door of rage, close this door of lust, all of this desire, rage and lust. Because what happens when these are open, even if you study scripture and then suddenly person gets ahankar of the scripture only. Yeah, Brahma is speaking through my mouth only. That is what the person, there are people, great Shastris. Oh, I speak means it is divine speaking. But then why is divine getting angry? Nobody can ask him because the person is already in that state of extreme attachment. So this aspect Krishna is saying, 3 doors are closed. You decide I don't want to follow, then you are going against this celestial scriptures also. As a consequence of it is what Krishna is saying. That you are, what will happen? He is not cursing also. Many times this is not a curse. Even the scriptures, there is not something. They say in different mantras they add phalashruti. But that phalashruti is why? It is for children or people who are not yet ready to, without a phala, they are not willing to do good thing. Parents say do like this, then you will get this in return, at least that reason. Though it's not an ideal way to raise a child. But many mantras you tell like this, and if you read this at this particular time of the day, then you will get this in return. So at least in that nature you will start, at least memorizing and pronouncing, if not understanding the meaning. The day you understand the meaning, you have already got the realization which this mantra is meant to give you. But at least for that. So like that people say phalashruti and then people give the opposite of phalashruti also. You do it wrong, you will get this particular side effect. And that fear, it's like, see, this was what happened. Twashtri Rishi had made a mistake in pronunciation. So that is why Indra's Shatru, he had called upon the fire while pronunciation. He said, slay the enemy Indra. But while that, like, instead of missing a comma, he pronounced it differently, meaning slay the enemy of Indra, and so his son got slayed. So remember, this is the great danger. Is what these are all fears. Krishna is not planting a fear; he is just giving a proper logical aspect. He says, follow the scriptures. This is the golden principle. He says, close these three gates. If you don't, what's going to happen? Your life is going to become a sorry life, because you are going to chase after desire. You will live in imperfection. You will live in sorrow. You will keep accepting human. How long can you accept human nature in others also? If you are expecting others to accept your human inefficiencies or incompleteness, but are you willing to accept somebody else's? It's not. We don't want that from others. We want everybody to accept our own. So that is exactly the problem, is what Krishna is saying. Ultimately, they enter into that sorry plight. We look at the next shloka, and then this chapter is completed here. Tasmat shastram pramanam te karya vyavasthitau jnatva shastra vidhanoktam karma kartum yarhasi. Therefore, he says, therefore let the scriptures be your guide, and by their truths may you always abide. By understanding them, follow their declaration in all your works and actions. Bring forth your emancipation. So Krishna says, that is why study the scriptures. He says, study the scriptures, let them be your guide, and understand their truths. Let abide by the truth of the scripture. What is the meaning of the scripture? If you see a great Vedic Rishi also, he was doing a yajna according to a scripture, but not following the scripture only. Nachiketas' father, he stated, the scripture says you must give these many cows for the yajna to be completed. This must go like that. And Nachiketas is a young boy. He sees his father is doing something wrong. He is doing a little bit rajasic way. But now, generally, how children can speak to fathers or mothers, something children are afraid. So even at that time, same story. He was like, how can I go and tell my father you are doing wrong? So and he devises a very unique way of asking. He says, Father, whom will you give me? First time, father ignores him. This person repeats second time, because he wants to tell him, what are you doing? You are giving these cows which are not capable of yielding milk. They have eaten all their grass that they had to eat in their lives. Now they are just in their last stages. It is not a worthy donation, is what he wanted to tell his father without disrespecting his father. He wanted him to realize it. So once he says, twice he says, and he says, I'll give you to Yama. And then the entire story starts of how Nachiketas goes to Yama directly. But this is where again, he thinks he's following scripture, but he lost the spirit of the scripture. The very aspect. A young boy could understand that this is not what the Shastra is talking about. But here a father who is a Vedic Rishi, who is a respected Rishi, how he could not understand? Again, the gunas inside of human nature, we can say, that brought about, and because of that he got angry also. Why should one get angry when a yajna is taking place? That is the time when the divine resides, when the yajna is done. Devan Janma Grunat Tejai, gods are invited. Gods are invited to participate in the yajna. So at that time, will you cultivate anger? So this aspect is there. So this is why Krishna is saying, understand the truths and abide by the truths. Understand them in their principle, follow what they are telling. Then he says, then in all your works and actions, you will bring forth your emancipation. A soul growth will take place. Growth in your actions also, growth in your works as well. So with this adhyay is complete. We are ready to enter into the next adhyay, which is the penultimate adhyay, the 17th adhyay of the Gita. I'll just share the illustration, and if anybody has any queries, we can look at that, or I'll share the illustration and we can just start off the 17th adhyay. Alright, then I think I'll start. Just please look at the illustration and please tell me, what do you see here? We have seen three gunas, now we see something else. Yes, please. Can someone describe what is there?
There are different kinds of foods in different.
There are,
Sattva food, rajas food, and tamas food. And as it's said that you are what you eat, sometimes there's a statement there.
okay.
So, and we can say that how we choose.
Okay.
When we talk about nature, and I'm choosing, okay, I want to be of this nature,
Ha, ha.
this guna. I'm also choosing according to what I'm thinking about how my consciousness is. I'm also going to choose the food around me,
Okay,
which is going to aggravate my nature or which is going to keep me calm.
okay. All right. Okay. Gigi. Okay, Deepti ji. Deepti ji is saying yes. So that is going to affect our nature is going to affect our food also because of the
See, for
nature of.
example, let's say if I like meat,
Okay.
so I am ready to I'm that means I'm consciously accepting that I'm going to just sacrifice something, someone alive, and
Hmm.
I'm going to consume it.
Okay.
That brings about my nature. But if I am eating, let's say, and I'm not against vegetarian, non-vegetarian. I have been in one point of time in my life,
Mm-hmm.
but and if I'm so whatever kind of food choice I'm making, it of course I'm making consciously, right?
You're
And
making a
if
conscious.
I
Okay.
am ready to consume it, that's why I'm picking it.
Okay.
When we talk to
But
kids,
the
like
taste
don't
is
eat
more
junk food.
important. Is more important than the other aspects.
Yeah,
The indriyas
but
are
yeah,
important.
when we talk to kids also, especially kids, that don't eat junk food, make a healthy choice, make a healthy. So what are we telling them? We are just telling them that because when they are attracted to that, and if we and or sometimes we instill in them, you have to think consciously while you're making a choice
Yes. Yes.
because it is going to affect your health. I mean,
All right.
the
Yes, yes, that is right actually about health because very recently one doctor, he is a dentist and he is seeing a lot of cases of lichens in lichens planus, which is affecting so many people, and he's not able to understand why the medications which are right now going are not working, and he's feeling very disturbed. He's like something must be found. There was a feeling inside of him that I'm not understanding. This later on this become more dangerous also as this goes. And what is he advising? He is advising them to start becoming vegetarian, and then they are able to become vegetarian for a short while as long as that pain is there, and the moment it is gone, they again go back to their diet. And he says, unfortunately, it is not that I am trying to promote a kind of vegetarian food. Right now, my steroids are not working, my other medications are not working. So this is the only thing I suggest. I cannot force, and he is in the Gulf, so there he cannot force anything. But he says, I recommend this. I recommend them to eat lesser of salt or eliminate the general salt and put use rock salt. Some simple things. These are the only additional things I can do. He says, but I am still searching. I am not able to identify. Why don't we look at something in Ayurveda if something can help? I really just want something to happen. But this is the diet. So like I think Dituji said, health reasons also. That is one more thing. And okay, Dituji wants to add something.
can I do an example like from my real life? Like
Okay.
2 weeks back, I did a 3 day juice fasting.
Okay.
Like for 3 days, I was on juice.
Hmm.
So what I realized is that because when we were just preparing the juices, especially let's say with spinach and all, so as we see anything green, we think okay, we have to attach some salt to it or
Okay.
some other extra elements to it. But when I prepared it and when I consumed it, I really realized the power of the natural things, and
Okay.
I did not miss the salt or I did not miss any sugar element
Okay.
or anything in that. And actually I was like consciously doing it, and I was realizing the importance of it, and it really brought it of course, I mean, it was cleansing my body, it was detoxifying, but mentally also I was feeling very calm and realizing that what we all ignore, what nature has given us, it really comes back to us. Oh no, this is, I mean, we are just adding the external factors, and same goes with our like
Mm-hmm.
conscious mind also, that we are unnecessarily adding external factors to just try to just give it like a good covering or good packaging to our mind. But we have to see deep internally. So that was the realization that I got in those 3 days. It was
Okay.
really powerful.
All right. Okay. Yes, Deeptiji. So again, what we see, state of mind decides our what we saw Rajas, Tamas, Sattva. Three softwares. They are not just in the behavior of the individual. They are probably extending out of the behavior also in the life also. These three Rajas, Tamas, Sattva forces are playing. Prakriti is having a great field day. We can say all the days in our choices. Rajasic mindset may be connecting with the Rajasic thought. But it is also a question if that is the case, can the change of food result in change of mindset also? Yes, please. Srinivas ji wants to add something. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. It the type of food that you eat, it affects your psyche also.
Okay. Yes. And this is actually a very new
And also
concept.
there's nature. of course, we can see that that creates a sattvic psyche in us.
Okay. Okay,
The food
Srinivas.
that a man has created to satiate his palate,
Okay.
that is the Rajas food.
All right. Okay. All right.
And the food which you get by killing animals, some
Mhm.
other lives,
Hmm.
that creates tamas
Okay.
inside.
Acha. All right. Okay, Srinivas ji. So what we'll do is
Uh,
we'll probably go next to that. One thing I just wanted to add is now, like nutritional psychiatry is what a modern science is talking about. How food is actually food choices. They are using that as a therapeutic aspect along with the treatments. When people are getting treated, also how nutrition can play an important role not only in the psychiatric aspects, also in other bodily functions as well. And this was something which was recognized long ago. But again, we have seen, is it is only sattva guna the correct guna among the three gunas, or was there something beyond also which Krishna has talked about in the three gunas? Because we are again seeing the three natures, rajas, tamas, and sattva.
No, each one of us has three, and there's something called as beyond, which is
Gunatit,
Krishna.
is it not?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And there's a beautiful
may I,
Rakhi ji, yes,
may
please.
I, yeah, see, one thing is, yes, sattva, rajas, and tamasic food. But I have personally seen people who, after, joining yoga or understanding about these three gunas,
Hmm.
they have consciously made a choice to switch to sattvic food, the
Hmm.
so-called sattvic food,
Hmm.
and they have become so maniac about it that it's
Ha,
like
yes.
you are all the time thinking
Ha
about
ha ha ha.
eating this and
That
not
is
eating that.
exactly what I wanted to
Exactly,
say.
it is like if you are always concentrating on that aspect, then when will you concentrate on the higher? I mean,
Yes,
it's not about eating. It's like whether you are living to eat or you are eating to live.
yes, yes, yes.
So and um I mean, I am not aware. I have not read the entire Gita. So, but as far
So
as
far, we have
my
not come
understanding,
across vegetarian or
yeah,
non-vegetarian. Krishna has not uttered a word about it.
exactly, yeah.
Yes, he is not. He is not.
What?
What?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, as per my understanding,
Have you heard of this
Krishna.
Vyadha Gita, Rakhiji?
No,
There
I
is a
haven't.
Gita taught by a butcher.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Okay. So
so,
what we want to, yes,
yeah,
yes, I got your point, Rakhiji. Absolutely.
yes.
No, what I wanted to say. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I muted Rakhiji. Please complete, and then I will go. Yeah.
Everything, we should take it as a prasad.
Yes. Yes.
So
Because.
whether
Hmm.
whether whether it is this thing or that thing, if it is
Yeah.
cooked with pure mind, if it is uh, cooked with good thoughts, I think everything is
Okay.
good.
Okay,
I mean,
Rakhiji.
if you're
Probably
in a
yes.
coastal area, uh, you know, seafood is readily available.
They call it
If it
cabbage
is
of the sea. They call it
yeah,
cabbage. Machli is a sea
exactly,
cabbage in.
jal torai they say in
Ha, so,
Assam.
yes, yes.
So
All right, Rakhiji.
yeah,
Yes, yes. I understand that. I understand that. What it is something like it is how Krishna told, no, Duryodhana must be slain without hatred. So something like that. Well, hatred for food also is consuming the person. You are in consuming hatred when you see this person is like this person is like that. See, vegetarian when this person is non-vegetarian, that person is like this. Vegan also has started now. In new tomorrow we do not know what else will start. But this aspect is there. This aspect of hatred which comes because you are now judging a person and everything around you by the food types without recognizing this is one type. That is why this Vyada Gita story is a very ancient one also, which talks about one yogi who has got such a great. Probably we'll just look at that. We'll maybe just end with one shloka only of this adhyay since we've started it. So there's a story of this yogi who has done great sadhana, got great tejas inside by this sadhana, attained certain siddhis also. That now some of these siddhis were suprahuman siddhis, like with his anger he could make fire manifest also. his krodha, which was this kind of sattvic rag which he could control, and that was he was taking a lot of pride in all of it. And once he's sitting and while meditating, the two birds were making so much sound, so much noise, which disturbed him. He just looked at that, and then they started burning because of his siddhi. He burned them, and he went back into his dhyana. After dhyana, he has to come to the city to collect bhiksha as per the ancient ways. So, Om Bhavati Bhikshan Dehi, he has gone to a home. There he sees that there is one homemaker in that house, and she is about to give him, and she says, "Yes, yes, I am coming." Just then her husband enters behind him. So immediately she forgets this person. First thing she goes, she washes the feet of her husband. She is following her dharma according to her, and she goes inside, and this person starts getting irritated. A yogi like me is standing at your door, and you are not giving me any respect. You are going and lost in your samsara. You are not taking care. And it is said that you must give respect to the person who has come to your door, and all of this is going on in his head. And he gets irritated, and his anger is now slowly rising. Suddenly from the inside the voice comes out, "Please wait, Yogi. I am not that bird you can burn just like that. I am doing the duty of looking after my husband. I am coming to you." Now he is shocked. He is shocked. How did this lady who has not done sadhana gone into my mind and into my experience of what I have got? How did she get it? And he goes and he says, "How did you know this?" He says, "No, I got it from my guru only. It is because of my guru." And she says, "He gave me this." And he is shocked, because now this lady has gone deep into him only. What we can say, marma has already been caught by her. This person's pulse is now in her hand, and he's saying, "No, I want to meet him." And he's like, "Oh, yes, you can." He is not averse to meeting people. You can go and meet. And she says, and he says, he thanks her. "Thank you. You have given me important direction." She also says, "I hope you can also learn from him. Best wishes, whatever it is." And they part ways. Now this yogi goes in search of the guru, which he has been told about. Now he goes and he sees and he goes as the lane becomes smaller and smaller, and suddenly he sees a butcher's shop at the location where this lady has told. So the guru is supposedly that butcher. He is now disturbed. He is now irritated, and he's like, "What? This person?" But now he is already known that his siddhi is useless compared to what this person. So he has to now put his pride aside, and he waits for his turn. He waits for his turn patiently, and then he goes to the butcher. And the first thing he says about him is his diet only. He tells him, "What is this? You are a yogi and good person, and what are you doing here?" Then that butcher explains, "See, this is my dharma which I am doing. As a butcher, I am doing my dharma. Are you trying to judge over my dharma? Whom are you to come and judge me?" And then there is this beautiful exchange which is called the Vyadha Gita. It is said Narayana has taken that form to give that knowledge to this yogi also. So yes, what we see, the food choices, yes, food choices. I know of an individual who started changing the lifestyle, started pranayam, and loved non-vegetarian food so much at the same time. But what happened was, she was what we can say, good athlete also, who loved non-vegetarian food all the time. And for my body, it is required. For athletic body, proteins can come only through meat. They cannot come through dal or anything. This is the idea. You cannot tell them that elephants are also powerful with vegetarian food. But no, for this it is required. But she started having body stiffness, some other physical troubles. So she wanted to eliminate that. She started yogasana and pranayam. Now what happened was, her body started rejecting non-vegetarian food, and she started vomiting the same favorite food she was eating every time. And she was she would get disturbed, and she would still try to, the tug of war would take place. My body is rejecting it, but my mind wants it. Till a point came where finally she just realized that fine, I do not want it. I'm not so dependent on my choice. If for some reason I'm not understanding what is happening inside of me. But she became conscious, and many people actually, as they get into the state, they get a choice. They don't have this very strong preference. You see, Krishna says likes and dislikes are okay. But when you get trapped in your like and your dislike, that is where the sadhana becomes bhanga. In the beginning, probably 4th or 5th adhyaya, only Krishna has told the same thing. So yes, because one more story of a person she shared, a mother. There was a wall getting formed between mother and daughter. Because of she felt this food is pure, this food is not, and her children, and she did not have to change. She didn't have to, what we can say, she understands her view, she should keep it, but she started having hatred. So much that what is in another person's plate, and now this other person is her own daughter, and she would make a disgusting face, and then the father would probably add fuel to the fire. So the daughter and father teamed up, and this mother was actually in tears when she was talking about her problem, and she said, I am facing this problem everywhere. Now here nobody is asking her to change her nature, and it is a good thing. Our human body is more conducive for digesting food which is easily digestible to the body. Some foods require a lot of energy, they have a toll. If somebody's kidneys have trouble, doctors only say don't, your creatinine levels are too much, stop non-nutrient food right away. Or liver trouble, stop this alcohol, stop all of these things, go become like a yogi and eat sattvic food, is what they don't use this word, but that is what doctors prescribe also. But you see a dvesha inside of the individual over choice. I think what Rakiji was talking about, I have seen a lot of people who are supposedly very nice on their behavior, their lifestyle according to them, but they're living a very bad impurities are there inside of their head and in their behavior. So these are all play. We'll see what is this, because the illustration talks about food only. Is this chapter dedicated to food, or there is something else? That we will see. I'll just look at one shloka and probably then I'll come to Dipti ji.
Can I add something here?
Alright, Dipti ji. Okay.
Quickly, and just like Rakiri said, that sometimes yes, food can create like differences between people also. Like for example, from my house only, I'm telling you. Like my son, he loves to eat eggs.
Okay.
Okay, but his friend, his best friend, he in his home they don't.
Okay.
So he has got like whenever they converse or whenever they talk about this term egg, his friend gets very very agitated. Why do you eat eggs? Because his parents have told him
Ha, ha,
that
ha.
it is not good.
Ha, ha, ha.
The logic was not clear to the child, but so for that moment when they discuss about it, there is like something extremely bad has happened or something is like the end of the world. That type of conversation they have, and my son starts crying. No, I like it, and he's like, do not, you should not do it. So the conversation becomes very. That creates a very very affection between them, although they're very very close.
Yes,
So
yes.
I'm thinking that and then I have to make them understand it's okay. The food choices are it's personal choice, and then but still, the as a what do you call it? Kachi mitti, the mind is like that. The kid's mind, so they're just absorbing that, and they don't know how to comprehend that. But still, because they have been told like they are in the environment, like if I tell my son it's okay, and the other person said no, it's not okay, so they are like. They don't know how to handle that, and that sometimes creates on a very very early stage a rift in the mind, personal mind itself.
Yes,
So I
Devte
think
ji. No, that is what we can say is these are really, the Gita does not talk about this chapter is not focusing on this is not actually focused on food. What the example illustration is talking about food only. We have not started the Adhyay. But if you see the state of mind, how much it gets like food choices are creating. This is preferences. These are sanskars which all of us are only experiencing in life. In life, we have
It's
experienced.
like, may I just
Yes,
interpret?
yes. Just one question and then I'll come to you. Just one.
Okay. All
Now,
right.
if some version of Ramayana tells you, Ram as a Kshatriya in the forest, he ate non-vegetarian food. This is not true. All right. But if somewhere it comes, will your respect for Sri Ram, who is Maryada
no, not
Purushottama,
at all.
will it vary even one bit? Somebody has done this translation. If it is,
Actually, in the Kori community for Ganpati, they offer fish.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
they
yeah.
say that is our basic food, like that's my staple diet. I will only offer what I have.
No, it is something like how, if you see the full universe's creator is that person. What is the aspect of personal choice we are trying to impose somewhere else? So, what it is in this adhyay, we are just seeing about the gunas. What we
No,
will
as you
see.
said that for Rama, of course, the respect and the devotion won't change whatever he consumes because it is
He's a
because of
Maryada
his nature.
Purushottam. We do not know. We do not know. What I am saying is personal. I am not talking about some translation. If somebody, because I have had one drug inspector only came and asked me. He was a Christian. He was the inspector of our factory, and he came. I don't understand. Tell me about this. And I said, sir, whether or not he was eating, it doesn't make a difference to me. For me, he is my Rama. Rama will remain Rama only, whether or not you are telling me he ate a human also. I don't care. For me, Rama is Rama, and I have watched his character, I have watched his charitra, his entire life story. It teaches more than what one food choice or one moment will not give me and I am nobody to judge him. What I want to learn from him is what I want to learn. That does not make a difference. My respect will not change, sir. And though I had limitation because he's an inspector, I can't very strongly speak to him. Otherwise, the inspection report will feature the dialogue only. So this aspect is there in life. So sometimes this thing, this adhyay, is telling us that these three gunas are not going to leave us at all. We are just seeing one portion. I'll read one shloka and then come to Rakiji and then we'll conclude today's session. Sorry for the delay, Rakiji. Just one shloka. So we started this adhyaya. We'll start with one shloka only. Arjuna uvacha ये शास्त्र विधिमुत्सृज्य यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः तेषां निष्ठा तु का कृष्ण सत्वमाहो रजस्तमः. Oh Krishna, what about those who do not follow the scripture and yet perform sacrifices with a faith of highest stature? What is the underlying nature of their devotion? Which of the three, sattva, rajas, or tamas, is their action? So Krishna is asked a very nice question. He says, what about those people? They have Shraddha in the divine and yet they are not following the scripture. What is the underlying nature? Is it Rajasic? Is it Sattvic? Or is it Tamasic? So it is Arjuna who is wanting to understand Shraddha and the three gunas. Means what is the stamp of the gunas in Shraddha? Shraddha is something which is very pure. And he gives an example of maybe he might be knowing someone who has infinite love or great love for the divine but is not following scripture. What is it? Is it Rajasic or is it Sattvic or is it Tamasic? Which nature of Prakriti is dominant in such an individual? So that is the shloka. And the tagline for the image was that even the food consumed by a person is of three types according to the taste, liking and preference of the individual. It may be Sattvic, it may be Rajasic or it may be Tamasic. Now which is to be taken, which is not to be taken, we will see what Krishna says in the Adhyay. He is now, but one thing is in Ayurveda they say, if the saliva does not start, digestion does not start. The saliva is when the saliva starts, that is when. But then Ayurveda has also described how each and every, even different ingredients have their own purposes. Even the most sattvic foods can be more tasty also if you make it the right manner. So then relishing of the experience of food is something which you can enjoy. But how much are you going to enjoy and when is that enjoyment going to become a desire and a trap? That is a fine line. That's what Krishna always walks on a tightrope. We have to follow him on that only. So yes, please. With this, I'll conclude. Before that, Rakiji wants to say something. Maybe you can say that, and I'll conclude with the Shanti Mantra.
Yeah, just to add on to what you just said, once I had been to an ashram, and there I had plain dal and chawal. That dal was cooked in
Heavenly.
just, yeah, salt and turmeric.
Ha.
That's it.
Ji, ji,
And
ji.
it was so tasty. I still cherish that,
Ji,
you
ji,
know.
ji. Yes, yes,
And
yes.
and basically what I understand, feel is that we are understanding, we are reading uh, to uh, you know become pure,
Yes, yes, yes.
mentally, emotionally. But if we are again getting trapped into that
Yes, yes, yes.
other kind of things, then it is amounting to the same thing only. Yeah.
Damleji
So
actually says this opinion is like an onion.
yeah.
You keep peeling until you have nothing in your hand. You keep removing it again. I opine like this. I feel like this. Who is this I?
Yeah.
This I is not
Yeah.
required only, is
So
it not?
as long as I am happy with having sattvic food, with vegetarian food, it is okay. But I should not, compel others also to have it, or look uh, with
Because
hatred,
yes,
with
somewhere.
someone.
And if you look at it, even now we just had an image of the three foods. This Adhyaya does not talk about the
Yeah.
foods, but our entire conversation is more revolving around the food only. Because the preference of food, our preference, our liking, this is mine, this is according to me, this is according to my liking, this is against my liking, supporting this would create, it's like a polity is already created. But this is the food, this is not this type of food. The images also here don't talk about anything about, especially about vegetarian or non-vegetarian in that way. But our minds are conditioned that way. One is called pure, one is called impure, or one is recommended by each party is recommending its own as better. And then,
In Bhagavad Gita shloka in chapter 4, Krishna says, Brahma Arpanam Brahma Havi.
ha, ha.
So in that he says, if you're that act of eating is also a yagna.
Yes, then
So
you
eat
can
it with
choose.
that, eat it with that emotion, with that feeling, and it becomes amrit.
It's simple, no? Patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam. Even vegetarian food like bear, it becomes dirty when it is eaten and it cannot be offered to God. But then, what about Shabari? It was offered to Sri Rama himself and it was remained as pure as it was. So the consciousness is very important, and food has an important part in governing consciousness. Some foods are heavy. We will look at it a little bit later. Our aspect is not more than the vegetarian or non-vegetarian. It is the role of the food on the consciousness of the individual. Anything that is going to raise our consciousness is what we want to do in sadhana. Anything that is going to lower our consciousness, we do not want it because it will take us away. We want gunatit as the aim. Are we going to go lower and lower into
Absolutely.
tamas? We will not want to enter into tamas. So we will have to see the role in consciousness. Let us just see what, and let us not, like as before also we have said, no buddhi bhedam. Krishna is not talking about my book is ultimate or you must follow me. These are certain other books which talk about it. That this is how you should follow. You don't listen to this, you suffer. Krishna is asking us to choose our path. We are going to choose our path, but we have to see everybody's got karma bandhana. Every action you'll have to face the consequence. Choose consciously to that path which will elevate our consciousness is only what Krishna is recommending. I'll conclude with a Shanti Mantra, after which we just probably, if anybody has anything to add, you may look at it. Hari Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Tatsat. Krishna Mandir Jagat Kurum. Om Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Hari Om. Yes, please. Anybody has any queries, you can share. Otherwise, we can. Yes.
Hari Om.
Hari Om ji.
I wanted to
Yes, ji.
add a little bit
Hari Om ji. Hari Om.
that is Jaisa and Vaisa Man. There's a saying.
Yes, yes. Oh,
There is kind of a story.
Hari Om.
Vishwapita, when he was lying on the bed of arrows, he Pandavas with Draupadi
Yeah.
went to see him, and at that time he starts giving his pravachan of what should be done and how one should live.
Yeah.
So Draupadi ji laughs loudly,
Huh.
and the Pandavas are a little upset because she's laughing loudly in front of Bhishma Pitta.
Okay.
And but Vishwapata is not upset. He's telling them to ask her why she behaved
Mm-hmm.
like that. So she says the whole life you lived with Kauravas and you did not tell them anything. But Pandavas are epitome of dharma. They always followed dharma, and there was a need to tell them this. So he says that I was eating the food of the Kauravas, and now when Arjuna has pierced the arrows, all that blood has gone, and now I am pure. You know,
Ji.
so that was the story which came to my mind when you people were
Ji, ji, ji.
discussing about food.
Yes,
So
yes.
food is very important.
Yes, and if you see, they say no, food importance, they say three bar people who eat three times, they are rogi. Two
Yes,
times they are bhogi and one time is yogi. So food is hardly
yes,
important for a
yes, yes,
yogi at
yes,
all. It's just a small fraction of the existence of the individual. It is
yes.
giving strength to do the other actions. It is a fuel. Yes. Yes,
Yes.
ji. All right, ji. Okay,
Sai
ji.
Ram.
Hari Om, ji. Hari Om.
Sai
Jai Ma. Hari Om.
Hello.
Hari Om, ji. Hari Om.
Hari Ram ji.
Hari Om, ji. Hari Om.
Hari Om ji.
Hari